Now today we're going to talk about one of the funnest challenges in Diablo 2 Resurrected in my opinion, and that's completing a Holy Grail. I kind of get asked about this all the time because it's my favorite thing to do really is out there Holy Grail and trying to find these incredibly rare uniques. And since I'm doing this all the time, I'll get asked, what exactly is the Holy Grail? How would you recommend starting a Holy Grail? And what's kind of the fastest way to find all these incredibly rare items? Now, what exactly is the Holy Grail? Well, it's a self-imposed challenge to find every single unique item and set item in the entire game. But there's definitely more I want to tell you about it than just that. Now, a lot of people will include finding every single rune in the game because I'm going to be honest, you're probably going to find all the runes anyways before you find all the uniques. A lot of people end up with Tyrell's Might is the last one, but some have other items such as Mangsong's Lesson, maybe Death Spasm, things like that. So like I said, you're probably going to find all the runes anyways. You need these runes like Jaws and Vex and Lows to make really godly rune words to kill monsters super fast in order to have a better chance, or at least finding those super rare items even faster. Now, as you see, I have a ton of these items on these mules right here, things like Grandfather's Death Cleaver. Here we got a Stone Crusher. We got some other stuff, Bone Hew over here, but see, for my preference, I go ahead and I actually don't save every item. There's some items that you would just actually never use. So in order to save time, not having to sift through a bazillion items, when I'm trying to find the ones I actually want, I kind of try to save only items that I think I might want to use in the future. Now, some people say you kind of have to save every item. Some people say you don't. The thing is, there isn't some official world global wide Holy Grail society that's going to officially stamp whether you completed the Holy Grail or not. You can kind of do whatever you want to. I'm doing mine pretty much only on single player, but I also wanted to play online as well with community members, and I didn't want to accidentally find one of these super rare Grail items and then not have it not count towards my Holy Grail. So actually what I'm doing is, no matter where I find the item, whether it's online or single player, I'm counting it to check off my Holy Grail. So it's kind of a fun self-imposed challenge. Get out there, slapping down demons, finding incredibly rare items, getting super hype drops, and you can kind of impose any type of restrictions or loosen them up in any way you want to. Now, one thing that I do is I allow myself to use any character. Some people restrict themselves down to completing the Holy Grail on one singular character only. I don't think that's very fun. I want to use different characters, different builds while I'm out there slaying demons. Another thing, I love doing all different builds, so I actually give myself the opportunity here. You see right there, I just respec. You can slam all your points in here. Yep. And then go ahead and use the unlimited respec feature here on PC. Some people say, you know what, for the Holy Grail, you really shouldn't do that. It's not fully legit, but this is the thing. You can impose any type of rules on it you want because, like I said, there's no official Holy Grail committee. It's just a goal for each person to do individually for fun. But how could you remember every single unique item you find? Well, you don't really have to. There's actually these things called Holy Grail trackers. You can either get them on your PC or you can actually just get them on your phone, and then you check off each item as you find them. Now, there's several of them from several different places, so I'm just going to give you a few examples right here. Here's one from Maxroll, and it's similar to all of them. You can go ahead and check off which items you find when you find them. Sorry, there's no dark mode for this one, but this has been around since LOD days, and it does look a little dated, but the thing is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. On here, you can go ahead and pull up whatever you're looking for. You can click on the item. It actually gives you the ranges right here and stuff. You can check off if it's perfect or not. You can put notes about it as well. I'll put links to both of these down in the description. And here's another one that I don't have any experience with, but a lot of people talk about it and say it's great. So I'll link this one in the description as well. It's called Diablo Dex app, but either way, it looks pretty fancy. So yeah, using one of these Holy Grail trackers to keep track of your unique items, absolutely mandatory if you're doing a Holy Grail. And yeah, there are tons of other ones out there, so feel free to use another one as well. Now, I get asked a lot of times, how would I recommend starting off a Holy Grail? Well, the reason we're sitting here with the Sorceress is I would always recommend to start with the Sorceress. Now, taking advantage of that teleport skill, absolutely mandatory. And really the thing is, if you want to get those rune words at the beginning of a Holy Grail, which of course you do, you can go ahead and run lower Kuros to get those runes, to get things like your Heart of the Oak, to get your Call to Arms, get your Infinity, get your Enigma. The thing is too that people forget, you can start farming for items way before you finish the game. So you can take your Sorceress, play through normal, play through Nightmare difficulty, and once you get to Hell, you can just post up in Act 1 if you wanted to, and just spam farm and Darl over and over again, getting your things like your Oculus, getting your Shaco. You can go ahead and get your Mage Fist, you can get your Viper Magi, all those types of things to make your Sorceress way better. Or you can go ahead and play through the game ever so slightly, get to Act 3, just teleport, zip right through all that jungle in Act 3 that everybody hates, and get to lower Kuros. Then you can just start spam farming those super chests hoping to get those high runes to make those great rune words to really help you out. To be perfectly honest, at the very start of a Holy Grail, which I've started a couple of them now. First one I actually didn't finish. I reset when Diablo 2 Resurrected launched. But yeah, I always recommend go with this sorceress and pretty much go until you get to lower Kurast, or at least probably do until you get to Mephisto. Then you can spam farm Mephisto and Andariel till you get a lot of those lower level uniques, or at least mid-level stuff that really helps out your character, and then spam farm lower Kurast until you can get Call to Arms and you can get your Heart of the Oak. And here's another question that is very popular. Should you make Enigma first, or should you make Infinity first? Now, personally, just for my own preference, I would highly recommend go until you can make Enigma first. Enigma will open up a ton of different builds, whether you're talking about any of the druids, then you can teleport. You can get your barbarian rockin', you can teleport around as a pit singer or a pit zerker. You can spam out to any place you can go now with any of the builds that don't have teleport, that aren't a sorceress. I feel like this makes the gameplay way more fun when you can rock all these different builds and all of these different characters instead of just being completely stuck on the sorceress, because everything else is going to be way less efficient than the sorceress until you get yourself teleport on them. Now, what is, in my opinion, the fastest way to complete the Holy Grail? Well, we start off with how would I start a Holy Grail, and that's the beginning of what I think the fastest way to complete the Holy Grail is, doing the Andariel and Mephisto till you get a lot of the kind of like lower level stuff to help out a bunch of your different builds, and kind of at the same time maybe swapping back and forth, spam farming LK. But then how do you find all the super rare stuff at the end? Or actually, people are quite often left with incredibly low-level uniques that you wouldn't think would be hard to find, things like Hotspurs or Linamos Sash and things like that. How's the fastest way to find all of that stuff? Now, first we're going to start with that low-level stuff. You might be tempted here to come back to what you see here, normal difficulty, and just spam farming champions around here. Maybe they'll run Rakanishu, maybe they'll run Bishibosh, and hope to find one of those low-level items like, let's say, the Linamos Sash or the Torch of Ero, or something along those lines, because actually they're incredibly rare to find in hell difficulty. I would absolutely not recommend to do that. Now, the reason for that is really what you are doing is limiting your opportunity to find something incredibly godly, so that you can find something that, let's be honest here, you're probably going to find along the way anyways when you're searching for one of the other items that are incredibly rare that you can find in hell difficulty. While you're finding that Linamos Sash in normal difficulty, you know what you can't find? That Zod rune. You know what you also can't find that you could find if you're out here farming something like, I don't know, we'll say the pits here in hell difficulty. You're not finding Tyrell's Might, fellas. You're not finding your Mang Song's Lesson. You're not finding your Night Wings. You're not finding your D-Web, your Griffin's Eye, or anything like that. You're only finding those incredibly low level items, and you can find those in hell difficulty. From my experience, and you can tell me if you have a different experience, maybe someone's gotten to the end of their Holy Grail and the literal only item they had left on their Holy Grail was something like the Torch of Ero. I doubt it, but hey, let me know down in the comments. I'm going to say this for almost a 100% certainty. You're going to find all those low-level items here in hell difficulty before you're going to find every single other one of the incredibly rare unique items. So what I'd recommend, never spam farm those incredibly low-level places in Norm and Nightmare difficulty to try to knock off some low-level item like that. So you see me farming down in the pits here in hell difficulty, and this is something I'd recommend doing. Not necessarily just the pits. Pick your favorite areas and kind of spread it around for variety. But what you want to do is farm the 85 areas or terror zones as much as possible, pretty much all exclusively all the time, once you can do them efficiently, because that way you can actually go ahead and find those incredibly rare uniques along with the, and even though it is rare to find the low-level stuff, you still have the opportunity to find things like what I'm searching for still, the Tyrell's Might. And like I said, running terror zones, great option, but let's say out here, Dry Hills, maybe you do want to run it. Maybe you think it's a good terror zone. By all means, run it. But if it's a terror zone that you don't like, go ahead and skip it. You don't have to run terror zones literally all the time. There's tons of 85 areas, whether it's the Ancient Tunnels, the Cast Sanctuary, the Pits, etc., 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 that are great, and they've been the classic places to complete Holy Grails where you can find every single item in the entire game. So just because there's a terror zone up doesn't mean you have to run it, folks. The most important thing is that you're having fun while you're doing it. And sometimes I'll run terror zones like this because I think it's fun to do something a little bit different, but a lot of times I just don't want to. And just so happens we got Terrorized Andy right now, and this is my #1 recommendation here, kind of the final one. Never skip a Terrorized Andy if you can go ahead and do it. Now, don't base your entire life around when Andy's going to be terrorized, but you can find rare stuff like, boom, this is kind of just off the cuff, did the very first run, Kraken Shell, Elite Base. It's not the rarest item in the entire game, but it is a semi-rare one right there, and we actually knocked off a Facet as well. Pretty crazy, a 5/4 poison. This was just the first run, so anytime Andy is terrorized, make sure you hit her, and really, any of the act bosses. Mephisto can be great as well. You can go ahead and hit them because they drop so many items, and when you kill Andy, all the other monsters around her drop dead as well. This can be a great spot to find incredibly ton of uniques. So that's my final tip right there. If you're trying to complete your Holy Grail, always, if you can, try to go out and get Terrorized Andariel. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe up so you never miss any of the future videos. Hey, and check out one of these videos right here. I know you're gonna love it. Peace out, fellas, and keep slaying.